Hello, 5th grade. This is Tuesday's math lesson. We're still working in the unit on calculating average, but today we're going to talk about how you would multiply and divide in compound units. And this is helpful and useful because what if we wanted to calculate the average of something that was expressed in compound units? Now, a good example of this is, how much did you weigh when you were born? You can probably ask your parents and they may remember or may have it written down in your baby book or something like that. But usually when you take the weight of a newborn, it's in compound units. It's in pounds and ounces. So for example, someone might weigh when they're born 8 pounds, 2 ounces, or 6 pounds, 13 ounces. And so if we were going to take a poll and calculate the average birth weight of everybody in this class, we'd be calculating with compound units. We'd be, doing multiplication and division with pounds and ounces. So that's what we're going to focus on today is how do we multiply and divide when we have compound units. So we're going to start by looking at some examples in your textbook. Again, you want to make sure that you have a whiteboard, if you have that handy, or notebook paper that you can calculate on and follow along with me. And again, I'm using the examples in our textbook. So let's take a look at an example of when we could multiply or divide using compound units. I'm on page 41 in your textbook. So let's say, this is number 9. Let's say we want to find out, we have 3 packages, and the average weight of these packages is 1 kilogram, 400 grams. And we want to find out, well, what's the total weight of these packages? Well, obviously, if you remember from yesterday's lesson, to find out the total weight, we would take the average and we would multiply it by the number of items, which is 3 packages. So let's take a look at what that would look like. So we'll go ahead and write down 1 kilogram, 400 grams. So there's the average, and we want to know what's the total. Well, there are 3 boxes or packages that have the average weight of 1 kilogram, 400 grams. So we're going to multiply that times 3. Now let me stop here and say that there are many things possible in math. So you might think to yourself, well, why wouldn't we just convert, since we know how to convert measurements, why don't we just convert the whole thing to grams and then multiply by 3? You could do that, but we still want our answer in compound units, and we're going to go with the most efficient method here. And the most efficient method is to keep compound units as we multiply or divide. So I want to say that up front, that you might be thinking, well, I just would really rather convert everything to grams and multiply by 3. Again, we are working as possible. You can do that, but I'd like for us to stick with the most efficient method. So there's a system to doing this, and the textbook shows this. They use these little branches and lines here, as you can see in the bubble. I'm going to walk through that with you. So when we first take a look at our compound units, we've got 1 kilogram that we're going to multiply by 3, and then we have 400 grams that we're going to multiply by 3, and we're going to take them 1 unit at a time. So we're going to draw a little branch off from the 1 kilogram, and we're going to go ahead and write that and multiply it times 3. Okay, that's the first thing, the first unit. So 1 kilogram times 3 is obviously 3 kilograms. Okay, so I've multiplied my kilograms. Now I need to go to my grams and multiply by 3. So I'm going to draw a little branch off here for the grams. I'm going to take 400 grams, and I'm going to multiply that by 3. And I know very easily I can multiply my non-zero digits, and I can add on the remaining zeros, and I get 1,200 grams. Now, at this point, you should recognize that 1,200 grams is really 1 kilogram, because remember there are 1,000 grams in 1 kilogram, with 200 grams left over. Because again, we want our answer expressed in compound units. So when I multiplied my grams by 3, my final answer was 1 kilogram, 200 grams. And when I multiplied my kilograms by 3, I got 3 kilograms. So now I'm going to merge those answers together. I'm going to add those together. And I can just do that by drawing some lines to show that I'm bringing these 2 quantities together. So 3 kilograms plus 1 kilogram is obviously 4 kilograms. And then I still have my 200 grams. So therefore, the total weight of these 3 packages is 4 kilograms, 200 grams. Okay, so we've just multiplied in compound units. All right, I'm going to erase this. Let's look at another example here. So I'm going to go to the next problem in the textbook, which is number 10. All right, let's see what number 10 says. Number 10 is a division problem, and it says the total weight of 4 packages is 5 kilograms, 200 grams. Find their average weight. Okay, so now we're calculating average, but again, we have compound units. So remember, the average is the total divided by the number of items. So the total weight is 5 kilograms, 200 grams. I'm going to divide that to find the average by the number of items, and that would be 4 packages. Okay. Now again, here's where we're going to do the same thing we did last time. We're going to take each unit individually. I'm going to start with the 5 kilograms. Let me show you how this works. Now again, I'm going to draw a little branch off because I'm working with my kilograms over here. 5 kilograms divided by 4. Well, I realize it doesn't go in evenly. But if you divide 5 by 4, you get 1 kilogram, and then you have 1 left over, right? Does everybody understand that? So my 1 leftover kilogram, I'm going to express that as grams and see if I can add that to my 200 grams, which I'm going to divide by 4. So again, 5 kilograms divided by 4 gives me 1 kilogram with another kilogram left over. And I know that that leftover kilogram I can convert to grams, which is 1,000 grams. Oops, 1,000. Okay, so that's what I get when I divide 5 kilograms by 4. Now, I can't forget I'm going to have to deal with this leftover 1,000 grams here in a moment, but let's first look at the 200 grams. So we have our 200 grams, but I can now, since this is my leftover piece, I can go ahead and combine the 1,000 grams with the 200 grams because I still need to divide this by 4, and I still need to divide that by 4. So I'm going to merge those together. And again, these little branches are helpful just to show you and help you keep track of your work. So 1,000 grams and 200 grams is going to give me 1,200 grams. So you see what I've done? I've just taken my leftovers here, and I've combined it with the 200 because these amounts still have not yet been divided by 4. So now I have 1,200 grams divided by 4, and you can see that that very easily is divisible. 1,200 divided by 4 gives me 300 grams. So when I divided my kilograms by 4, here's what I have, my 1 kilogram, because remember I took that extra and combined it, and now I have 300 grams. So I'm going to merge these together, my 1 kilogram and my 300 grams, and so my final answer is 1 kilogram, 300 grams. That is the average weight of these 4 packages. So I know this is new and it may look different, but the little lines and arrow, the little branches are just a great way to visually keep up with this. All right, we're going to try another one. Okay, so we're looking at number 11 on the same page here, page 41. So again, we're still working on multiplying and dividing in compound units. So let's take a look at what number 11 says. Number 11 says, David took 15 minutes and 20 seconds to cycle a distance of 2 kilometers. On average, how long did it take to cycle 1 kilometer? Okay, so we're being asked for average here. We're being asked for average. And remember, the average is the total divided by the number of items or number of groups. So, his total time was 15 minutes, 20 seconds. And we're going to divide that by the number of kilometers that he rode, which was 2. So we have 15 minutes, 20 seconds divided by 2. Okay, so let's first start with the minutes. We're going to divide the minutes by 2 first. So we're going to draw that branch off again. We're dealing with each unit individually. So we have 15 minutes, and we're going to divide that by 2. Okay, so 2 goes into 15 7 times. So that's going to give me 7 minutes. But then I have 1 minute left over, right? Because 15 divided by 2 is 7. That gives me 14 minutes with 1 minute left over. So 7 minutes, 1 minute left over. Now I know that the second unit is seconds. So I'm going to take that extra minute and I'm going to just express it as seconds. So we're going to say 60, we know that 60 seconds is equal to 1 minute. So 15 minutes divided by 2 is 7 minutes with 60 seconds left over. Okay, now let's take the 20 seconds. Well, I can divide that by 2, but I still have this 60 seconds here left over for my minutes that I can combine with the 20 seconds and just take care of dividing that whole total by 2. So I'm going to merge these two together, 20 seconds and 60 seconds. That's going to give me 80 seconds. Divide those by 2, and that's going to give me 40 seconds. So my final answer is, here are my minutes, 7 minutes, and here are my seconds, 40 seconds. So 15 minutes and 20 seconds divided by 2 is 7 minutes and 40 seconds. All right. So hopefully you're following along here. I know this is different. All right, we're going to do one more, and you're going to need to flip the page to page 42. All right, this is another example of cycling on a journey here. So it says, Peter cycled from his house to the beach, which was 3 kilometers away. He took an average of 2 minutes, 45 seconds to cycle 1 kilometer. How long did his journey take? Okay, so this time we're being asked to calculate the total. So not the average this time, but the total. And remember, the total is going to be equal to the average times the number of items or groups. And so we have an average of 2 minutes, 45 seconds, and it took him that long to cycle 3 kilometers. So if we multiply those two values together, we will get the total amount of time that it took for his journey. So let's do that. All right, 2 minutes, 45 seconds, multiply that by 3. So again, we're going to take each unit one at a time, multiply them by 3, and then bring them back together for a final value expressed in minutes and seconds. So 2 minutes times 3 is 6 minutes. That's pretty simple. We're going to go ahead and take our 45 seconds. 45 seconds, we're going to multiply that by 3. And when we do that, we get 135 seconds. Okay, now, before we, bring these two compound units together, you may notice that 135 seconds we need to take those seconds and we need to pull out, how many minutes is that with how many seconds left over? Well, we know there's 60 seconds in a minute. So I know that 2 minutes is 120 seconds. So I can go ahead and pull out 120 seconds. That gives me 2 minutes with 15 seconds left over. Hope you see that. So now what I have here is I have 6 minutes. I'm going to add that to the 2 minutes, which is 8 minutes. And then, of course, we have the 15 seconds left over. So the total amount of time it took for him to cycle 3 kilometers, if he average 2 minutes and 45 seconds per kilometer is 8 minutes and 15 seconds. So this is how to multiply and divide in compound units, and it just takes some practice. I'd like for you to use the same technique that I've used here. I need to be able to follow your work. Using the branches really helps keep your work neat and orderly, and keep your units separate, and then you can bring them back together. So you're going to actually be practicing this in your workbook. So let me show you what that's going to look like. In your workbook, on page 49, and actually 50 as well, it's 2 pages of a variety of different problems where actually on page 49 you're just multiplying compound units, but on page 50 you're dividing compound units. And I want you to use this same notation here with the branches. Now they kind of started that for you on page 49 and 50. You can see where they've drawn the branches. And if you could just fill in, exactly as we did when you're completing these. I'd like to try to do one with you here as an example, just so you'll know what this needs to look like. And again, I'm stressing that we're keeping the units separate as we are calculating here, because it's all about efficiency. All right, so here's what your workbook looks like on page 49. So it says, for A, 3 meters, 20 centimeters times 4. So, and then you'll see they've started the branches down at the bottom for you. So what you're going to do is, here they've separated the units, and you're going to take each unit and multiply it by 4 and then merge it back together. So so down below, if you can write 3 meters times 4 is 12 meters. 20 centimeters times 4 is 80 centimeters. Well, that's pretty simple. So, when you bring them back together, of course, you get 12 meters, 80 centimeters, which you would write here. 12 meters, 80 centimeters. So if you could use those branches and use that white space below to show your work like we've done here. I've done the first one with you, 1A. Give these a try and complete pages 49 and 50. And let me know if you have any questions. You can always send me an email if you get stuck, or go back and watch the video again. But happy working, and I will see you tomorrow.